All right, so we're streaming. Yeah, I think it's working fine. And let's see if it stalls out. Okay. Let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, never risk money you cannot afford to lose. Welcome to Forex.Today. Thank you for your patience. So, anyways, let's look here. Okay, what do we know? What do we know? What do we know? USD Swiss franc is way, way, way up. That's interesting, isn't it? Because yesterday, the US dollar got weak. And yet, the Swiss franc's even weaker. So that's cool. Pay attention to that. Going back to what I was saying in the first half of this, today's webinars, look over here on the pound. Look over here on the pig. Okay? Okay? We're in that zone. That's roughly 618 Fibonacci retracement. This could be a good entry if you are a bull. I don't mean right this second, but you have the right price. Now you would use technical analysis to try to get the right time in which you would want to engage a long position. It's about a 50%, almost a 618. You got roll reversal here. So your plan A would be somewhere in here, and your plan B would be the double bottom. Okay, if you were a bull. And really all you're doing, and what I was trying to say before, is you're trading the pullback. Okay, so the higher high here predicts the higher low. Okay, you see that? The same thing is happening over here on euro versus dollar. You probably want to catch it closer to 17 and a quarter. The buy zone for today is between 1732 and 1722. You're splitting hairs there. What's the big difference, right? But this in here kind of says M2 is probably perfect for your roll reversal. But this whole area here is a buy zone if you're a bull. So the idea is if this big move here makes you bullish, then you want to buy a dip. And you're trying to define what a dip means. And right now it's between 1732 and 1722. And we already had that in the last hour. So you might have had your opportunity. The equal and opposite reaction, of course, would be improved Canadian dollar strength. Okay, and bringing it down, you can see that my current target here is just above 120. And the idea is shorting about, I think I'm short at 125. Okay, so I'm going for 500 pips south. I know, right? I know. Shut up. Yeah, I hope it works. Okay, I hope it works. So we'll see. So I'm down 13 pips. Not bad. Took me 24 hours to lose 13 pips. I remember those days like, oh my God, it took me all day to lose money instead of just in an hour. So I remember thinking that in my very early days of trading, I'd create a budget like, let's say, $200 I was allowed to lose that day while I was learning how to be a trader, right? Maximum drawdown for the day would be $200 in cash, right? I think it might have been more than that, but I'm picking a number here. Anyways, I remember at first I would lose $200 in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? And then it would take me, 6 hours to lose $200. And then I remember thinking, man, I'm seriously improving. It took me over 24 hours to lose $200. I'm like, I'm getting so much better, right? I suck less and less every day. That's good. And eventually, then I was going, any profitable day was better than losing 200, and that was a big victory. And then pretty soon I was trying to make 200 instead of lose 200, and I was trying to add up those days where half the days I would lose 200, half the days I'd make 200, and at the end of the month I was still treading water. And so I knew I had to make some adjustments, right? That I wasn't going to be able to quit my job if I was break even, right? Like, what was the point? So anyway, so I had to make changes, and the changes wasn't less 200 pip losses. It was more trades that were worth more than 200. So anyways, thank you, Joseph. Yeah, yeah. Morning again, Darko. All right, cool. So trying not to mess with this too much. Maintain our processing power. But anyways, you can see what I'm doing here. Little role reversals working out fine. Let me just see if it will allow me to do commodities. I guess it's probably here. Michael's like, thanks for sharing that. Hey, no problem. It's funny how you remember these things. It was very painful for me, so that's probably why I remembered. Oh, Bitcoin. Nice. Okay. Bitty, can't you see? So I bought Bitcoin yesterday, wasn't it? I bought it yesterday. Just marking out these things in case you don't see them. So in the future, okay, you're going to look for buying maybe a drop back to 42, 43. Okay. You got that? You want to keep the step ups? Keep doing that until it doesn't work anymore. Bitcoin, Aussie yen, USD CAD, crude. Good. Let's do some oil. I'm cruising now, I'm bruising now, I'm never losing. I'm in my car going fast, and this is what I'm doing. Round the way is where I'm from, and I'm from Manhattan, and I'm not a bum. Skirt chasing, free basing, killing every villain. Drinking and robbing and stealing. All right, so are we stepping up? Okay, we had a similar plan. I think I did this, was it Monday? Are these weeklies? I guess, right? Anyways, this is a pretty straight up trade. Do you remember the day I went over like 10 hammocks? That's one of the hammocks, right? So now what you're trying to do is sort of rinse and repeat this, and that's why you want to use this to identify bullish price action. But I believe I also told you we know, or we assume we know, that there are bears at 70. So, again, down here was good. Up here is very, very aggressive as a bull because you're like, yeah, I see resistance, but we're just going to blow through it, dude. Okay. I don't think that way, but be careful in here. This was better. Okay. This is sort of, so if you're a bull, this is what you're trying to do for sure. Okay. You're going to try to take this north. Target's probably 75. Your plan B would probably just get out of the way and let it come all the way back down to 65-ish and try to set up a double bottom. I hope it doesn't do that. Okay, but if we drop back into here, your best really hope would be, range bound between 70 and 67. I think if it's not going to, I prefer if it's not going to break 70, I'd rather have it all come all the way down and allow more people to kind of get back in, right? Michael's like, any thoughts on Bitcoin being tied to other coins? Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's Bitcoin. It was designed to be Bitcoin. It doesn't do anything but Bitcoin. And I would believe everything else is correlated to Bitcoin, not Bitcoin being correlated or tied, as you say. It'd be the other way around. But then, even then, I think a lot of the other coins are going to be tied to Ethereum more than they would be Bitcoin. But then Ethereum probably has a high correlation to Bitcoin. And so you got to be careful. It's causation versus correlation or whatever. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. Okay, most likely Ethereum is tied to Bitcoin, and everything else is tied to Ethereum. Okay. And what are we on? Ethereum 2.0, 3.0? How many forks do we got in this road? Okay. All right. Coolio. Okay, so crude, that's good. I like the bullishness, but crude has come down a lot. Okay. Now, when we're talking about inflation and whether inflation is transitory or not, and whether the Fed is correct or not, I want you to think about lumber was at $1,500 and now it's at $500. It's fallen 66%. Okay? And oil was at 75, now it's at 65. Okay? Yeah, I like Cardano, Peter. I like it. It's, you know, it's hopeful, especially when they can start doing smart contracts. Okay? Yeah, iron ore decreased, gold has come down from 2,000. You know, so are we going to have a lot of inflation next year if some of the most pressing inflationary pressing pressures, the most important inflationary pressures have already come down? Then they are, by definition, transitory. Copper holding better. Well, it might be because there's just, again, lack of supply of copper. Okay, and once supply catches up, then price will come back down. But if you remember, it might have been on Monday, or maybe it was last week, where I led a discussion here at Forex.Today about whether the Fed policies can change inflation, either create it or not create it, right? Or deter it, if it's supply side. See, the Fed and monetary policy can influence the demand side of the equation, but it doesn't directly influence the supply side. The Fed can't force gold miners to mine more gold. The Fed can't force copper miners to mine more copper. The Fed can't force or even influence steelworks to take iron ore and some coal and mix it together and make some steel. Okay? So Michael says, I thought inflation rose from 5.4 to 5.7. Yep, that's now. We're not interested in now because that number is already backwards looking. And if most commodities have come down, okay, then we have transitory inflation, and we won't have 5% next year, we'll have 3%. Now, you might be saying, well, what about the other inflation? Higher prices of just, well, like for example, used car prices are going to come down when new cars go to the car lot because we get past our semiconductor shortage. So when there's a whole bunch of new cars on car lots, the price of used cars will come down 50%. So therefore deflationary, right? But I want you to also think like the Fed is watching inflation from a different point of view. What if rents go up? Okay? What if, you know, basic food prices go up? Okay? What if stuff like non-transitory inflation? What happens? Well, then workers demand more money from their employers. So now they have more money, and now that inflation's gone away. So maybe your rent goes up 5%, but you get a 5% raise, and if you don't get a 5% raise, you go work for someone else that will pay you 5% more. Therefore, the employment market is probably closer at full employment. So your employer finds it so expensive to find new workers that they would be a fool to let you go. They would instead just pay you 5% more to keep you. Why? spend money to find somebody new and then train them, and then a year or two later you find out they suck. Well, they already know you. You're already trained, so they might as well pay you 5% more. And the cool thing is, so wages go up 5%, but all of a sudden now there's no inflation. Okay? You see, like CPI might be up 3%, but you make 3% more money, so is there actually inflation? No, prices have gone up. But your standard of living is the same. And that's the other side of inflation. What we're really worried about is, will oil prices go to $200 a barrel? And if so, that's going to really impact our economy in bad ways. And it's harder for an employer to address that. It's harder for the Fed to address that. And right now we don't see those being problems. The worst thing that could happen, though, is the government comes in and says high oil prices are a problem, so the government needs to fix that. And of course, they can't fix it, they'll screw it up. Rents have gone up a lot in South Florida already. Yeah, Joseph, and that's because people got no money. Okay? More people are renting, less people are owning. And it's really sad because money is cheap, and there's tons of it. But most people don't have good jobs, they have poor credit, and so owners are owning more, and there are more renters than ever. And it's sad because the 2008 financial crisis just slammed a lot of people. And then just as we were getting back to normal, then COVID hit, and probably the same groups of people that were clobbered in 2008 and never made money got clobbered again during COVID and still didn't make money. And it's weird because housing prices have gone up 10, 20, 30%, and the stock market's doubled, so people should have made money. Okay? Okay? Crises are good for long-term investors. So if less people are owning houses because they lost their job or their credit got killed, then there's going to be more renters. So what I tell you then is, as you grow your Forex account and you're making tons of money, you should take some of your Forex account and buy real estate, and you should rent your apartment building, right? Rent apartments out to people, right, that will pay you money for that. And you'll have an income producing property that will go up in value, and you'll collect money on cash flow. And there will be tons of renters because less and less people will be like you with a Forex account that grows year after year after year. Oh, is that right, Michael? Cool. I wonder who it was. Wisdom of Finance, huh? World of Risk and Return. Oh, so many ads. Come on, Google. Oh, no wonder. But still, it's funny. I brought up the book, and then it didn't serve it to me. Wisdom Mahir. Does I? Okay, I found the book. Maybe we'll put it in the... Maybe we'll put it in the book club. Just, let's see. Let's see. Let me bring it over here so you can see what I'm looking at. Oh, gee whiz. It's hard with a slow processor, man. Risk and Return. Oh, it's old. All right. So you're listening to an old interview, maybe. All right, so Seth Godin likes it. Good enough for me, huh? Born in India, raised in Hong Kong and New Jersey. Cool. Harvard Business School, Harvard Law School. Okay. Finances, tax law, entrepreneurship. Oh, he's part of the HBX as well. Boy, do I know this guy? I don't think I know him. No, I don't know. I don't know his stuff, but he's like HBS and HLS mostly. Cool. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good book. I bet you. I bet you he's smart. That's what I like about Harvard, right? You're like, hey, are you smart? Right? So anyways, the guy's probably brilliant. So yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, all right. So yeah, someone brings up, Masharian says, hey, haha, people are not paying their rents. Well, I got a fix for this, by the way, because I watched an interview. The guy in charge of handing out the rent money for the state of Alabama, he's got like, I don't know, $10 billion or something crazy, right? And it's for those people that have lost their jobs because of COVID, and he will pay your rent for you. He got the money from the feds. The feds sent $10 billion to Alabama, and $10 billion worth of rent can be paid. And so the interview I saw was they go to his office, and they're like, hey, what's the problem? You have $10 billion. And he's like, the problem? People won't do the paperwork. He's like, we need people to just fill out the paperwork, and we will pay the money. So then they interview a woman who hasn't paid her rent for a couple of months because of COVID. She lost her job. And then they're like, hey, so why don't you have this free money from the government? She's like, well, they make you fill out paperwork. They ask for your 2 years of taxes, right? And you need to have identification. She's like, so that's a problem. And I'm like, oh my God, right? So people that are not paying their rent cannot fill out a form or produce 2 years of tax returns, right? Or present identification. So they go back to the guy in charge, and they're like, how much money have you actually given away? And he's like, I've given away 10% of the money allocated. 10%. 90% of it's still here after a year or something. So why don't they just, instead of doing it through the renters, why don't they do it through the landlords? To say, look, if you're getting stiffed because your tenants don't have money anymore because of COVID, why don't you fill out the form and show us proof that you haven't collected normal? So you show us your tax returns, you show us your bank accounts, you show us your ID, and we'll reimburse you. Right? We'll just reimburse you for the lost rent. But so anyways, I do it that way, but whatever, because there can't be a lot of fraud. If you're asking tenants to provide 2 years of tax returns, but like a lot of poor people just don't do their taxes, so that's a deal killer right there. But landlords do. And so you can look at, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of tax returns and say, all right, you make 100,000 this year, 100,000 that year, 100,000 this year, 100,000 that year, and now COVID hit and you only collected $47,000 worth of rent. We understand that you're short about 50K. Well, here's the 50K. Just give us the names of your renters. Okay? And of course he would have that or she would have that. So, but whatever, maybe that's not the point. Okay, maybe the Republicans would do it through the landlords and the Democrats would do it through the tenants. I don't know. But it's weird. So when the government says, we've spent $5 trillion addressing COVID, I think, wow, that's a lot of money. Why is it so much money? And then you find out like this rent program thing where Alabama has $10 billion, but 90% of it hasn't been given out. I'm like, well, then the government really sucks. They can't even give away free money. Like, how bad do you have to be to not be able to give out free money? Do you think you could hire a startup to just give away free money? Right? Like, the government's not even capable of giving out free money. Okay? Morena's like, landlords don't pay taxes on rental income in housing either? Nah, dude, I don't know. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. But if you own, no, look, if you own an apartment building, you file taxes. Like, for example, you probably have a mortgage. The bank will want to know that you're filing taxes. The lenders will want to know you're credit worthy. No, so anyways, but I don't mean to go into a debate there. All right, cool. So anyways, do we do gold yet? Isn't this nice? Now it's actually working. All right, cool. Do I trade currencies or indices? I love trading indices. Okay. I got crushed by taxes, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. Back when I was trading, I traded the Dow, the S&P 500, the DAX, the Nikkei, and the FTSE. I think that would be about it. But I actually traded the future, right? Okay. I also traded oil futures, gold futures, and some treasury futures, mostly 10-year T-note. And then I traded Forex, right? And I might have even tried hedging that year with Forex futures. So this is sort of, again, this is not 15 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And some stock, like literally buying stock, not stock indices, right? Because those are futures contracts. So I had futures contracts for stocks, futures contracts for commodities, futures contracts for treasuries, futures contract for Forex, cash Forex, and cash stock market, right? Plus gold and oil. And what happened was my tax return that year was something like 1,000 pages thick. It was ridiculous. Taxes are due in March for a business, and it was like October when we were finally done. So I got creamed because each one of those, not each, but many of those had to be, they had different tax treatments, so you had to like treat them as individual businesses almost, right? So like, oh, well, here's Wayne's foreign stock indice futures, and then here's the domestic ones, and here's physical gold, here's gold futures, here's oil, here's currency futures, all taxed differently. Here's the over-the-counter Forex, right? Here's his actual stocks he bought, and here's the stock indices he's bought, and all this stuff, and it was crazy. And I accidentally overpaid my taxes by more than $100,000. And I overpaid my California state taxes by $50,000. Which is to say it was very inefficient, it was very expensive, it took really long, and at the end of the day, after all the calculations, it wasn't very good. And it had to do with the complexity of how I was building my portfolio. And I realized, and this was part of my own maturity as a trader, that I had to, consolidate all these investment opportunities that I saw into one of those business types, if you will. So like right now on my chart, I have XAU versus USD. That's not gold. There's no physical gold that I'm going to own. It's not even a gold future. Okay? You understand? So it's considered Forex. And let's say I wanted to trade the FTSE, I could correlate it pretty well using currencies, or maybe you have a broker that lets you trade it like a CFD, right? And so I just sort of brought everything into one house, and it had to do not just the cost of taxation, but there was a risk of like that year where you could overpay by hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. Or what if you underpaid? What if the IRS showed up one day and they're like, you owe us another $250,000? And you're like, really? Like, fudge, seriously? Right? Well, you put all that in your retirement account and stuff. You're like, well, now you got to pull that out. Or maybe you bought an apartment building with that money, and now you're like, but I don't have that kind of money liquid. I thought I paid you the right number. And they're like, well, no, let's think about it. No, we're right, you're wrong. Pay us the 250 grand right now. And you're like, well, fudge, I got it all tied up in this apartment building. Now what, right? So there's a real risk to that. So now I do everything Forex, right? That kind of stuff. Chances, how come my indices don't work? They are blank when I try to. You're probably adding the wrong one to your type of chart. Okay. You probably have an ECN account and you're not using the ECN indice indicator. Okay. That's my guess is what's going on. Nothing's right on tone. All right, let's do Noki. We haven't done Noki for a while. Okay. And if you were going to buy this pair, it's because you believe oil is going to come down further. Okay? And if you were going to sell this pair, you believe oil, in particular by oil, what I mean is Brent. Okay? Okay? Wayne, what are your thoughts about all this rumors about many money put in the market from the Fed? I'm not sure what you're talking about. First of all, the Fed is transparent and they tell you and show you what they do, and you can audit their balance sheet at any time. So you're going to have to ask the question differently. I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, Chen, so are you using the wrong one? Like most likely you have an ECN account and you probably have Euro USDI and you probably are using the other one where you're using the wrong one. Okay. Okay, cool. So anyways, pay attention to that. Man, I'm so happy that we've had a pretty reasonably stable second webinar of the day. Cool. Cool, very good. Gold looks nice. WTI fine. Euro dollar stabilizing on the bottom. I mean, boy, that looks like a great buy for today, but I've already covered it. But that looks like a great little 1, 2, 3. Jen says, so make a VAR account. Well, that would work. Or go back to MetaTraders, run the installer, and it'll install both. And then you use the ECN one. Okay. I don't know if I have login details for my account here. See if I can do this. It'll probably stall out the whole webinar. All right, I'll log in. Cool. All right, automatic installer. I have MT4, install everything for me now. Cool. Meanwhile, I got to get my location. Let me get this out of the way. File. Don't stall out on me. Aha, you messed with it. You're stalling out my webinar. That was just too much. I guess the download was too much. I'll have to run it after the webinar. Come on, man. Come on, Bubba. Well, there you go. You stalled it out. Chand. So anyways, yeah, you just run it and it would be there. That's too bad. That's too bad. So I have the installer here. Yeah. Cool. Well, that did it. That did it. So Chand blew up our webinar. Oh, well, Chand. All right, so that's cool. I need to do that anyway, so no big deal. But I guess we'll call it quits. Hey, I feel good about tomorrow. I think this is going to work fine. I will reboot right before the webinar, that kind of stuff. Okay. So maybe this works out better. I might even try downloading and installing MT5, and maybe it'll run more efficiently or something. I don't know the difference of, sort of the back end of MT4, MT5. So, but anyways, thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience with me. I actually ran the webinar probably 4 times, but I think it only streamed twice. I think we did a half an hour stream, and then I stalled my platform stalled out. Then I rebooted, and then I did the second one. And so, I don't know, I gave you an hour and 40 minutes of my life. Maybe we squeezed an hour of technical and fundamental analysis out of that hour and 40. Hey, man, that ain't bad. But, hey, thank you. Thank you for all you do. And also, again, I'll say it, I've said it 5 times, but thank you for your patience with me as I travel, right? I'm here in New York City, and it's cool to be with you and to be able to get this done. I like the fact that we have a career that can travel. This is a durable career. You don't have to trade from a dark dungeon somewhere like your old job. Do you remember that stupid job you used to have to commute to every day, and you didn't even have an office? You sat in a cubicle. You couldn't even, a plant would die in your cube because your cubicle at work doesn't even support or sustain life. But somehow you spend half your day there and you spend the other half commuting or sleeping. Hey, do you remember that person you married? Those kids you created? You forgot about them, huh? Well, I love what we do, and I love the fact where you're like, hey man, I want to meet up with some people in New York City. You jump on a plane, you zip there, and when you arrive, you open up your laptop and your career is available. Your career. You have a portable office. I'm sitting here in a 150-year-old hotel with a triple screen laptop. Oh, look at that. My account came back. Look at it. I got some activity. Maybe if I can keep going, I will keep going, but I think it's going to stall out again. Yeah, hey, let's try it. Hang on. So watch this. So you go in here, select all, copy. Okay? Hey, maybe we'll get this done. Let me now try to find this installer. Cool, let's try this. This is neat. Oh, stupid Microsoft. Cool, it came back to life. Huh? Welcome to the MT4 MetaTrader Standard Toolkit setup. Cool. Next. So now you have to go paste. Well, let's double check that that was Control-Alt, paste. Okay, next. Yes, that folder. Install. La 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 la, doo-da, doo-da. Hey there, boo-boo. You gotta put the files in the MT4 basket. Cool. Okay. 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 Now you'll see nothing's changed. So what you have to do is, and hopefully I got enough power now, but I got to close MT4. And then I got to start MT4. Come on. Well, yeah, maybe I only did it for the complete toolkit or something, so that's why I'm checking. Okay, Chand? And I chant so far away. Maybe I can force it. I don't know. Control Alt Delete. Maybe I can do a force quit. I think that'll work. Okay, let's see if we can get this going again. That's Rachel, that's Johnny. It was trying. GPU, something's trying to do something with the GPU. Oh, come on, we're so close. It should be installed now. So yeah, it's just frozen. I can't even shut this window yet alone, load a new. But it's going to be in here. Oh, so sad. But anyways, hey, I needed to do this. I guess as soon as I stop streaming, boom, I'll be able to check this out. So at least now I should have better charts for tomorrow. That'll be interesting. So, right? So I guess I will see you tomorrow. If you are in my swing trading group, we will meet today at 2 p.m. We will Zoom, so I don't think we'll have these problems. And I'm hoping just to do a quick one, setting up our weekly trades. I think we should just keep it technical. Oh, there we go. Okay. And later today, I will be wining, dining clients and all that kind of stuff. Oh, see, look. So look, all this stuff was installed. Pivots yen, pivots dollar, scan commodities, scan exotics. Okay, all these things, they're all new. They've been installed. Okay. And I can see that there's no indices. So that's interesting. So, Chand, if you are running the installer, but you're running the basic one, it's not installing indices. So you have to do the complete toolkit, unless it's down here. Maybe it's down here. Okay. In that case, maybe you have bad indices, but you're only running the basic installer instead of the advanced installer. So you would have to go back to MetaTraders. You know, some people miss this, right? Like they log in and they don't see the drop-down window and they're like, oh man, right? Oh man, blah, 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 blah. He didn't give me what, dude, click on the menu. Okay. So I'll probably have to run this one as well. Are you running this one, Chand? So I'll run the second installer. So anyways, so I'll see you guys later, either later today or later tomorrow. Peace on earth, may the pips be with you. May their profits be above average. Take care of yourself, you hear? Again, thank you for your patience, and thank you to Traders Way for being part of our community as well. Cheers.